And welcome into this edition of Gator Bytes on the 1010XL.com podcast network. Also being simulcast on the Florida Gator 1010XL Facebook page. Today's Gator podcast is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. They're Northeast Florida's leading orthopedic center, providing an unparalleled level of care across numerous locations in both Jacksonville and St. Augustine. That includes Riverside, Northside, the South Side, the beaches, Fleming Island, and St. John's. He is Denny Thompson. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green, and amazingly enough, Denny, the Gators have a football game in about 48 hours or so on Saturday afternoon.
Kind of.
Expectations for the Las Vegas Bowl. What do you hope to see? What do you hope gets accomplished?
I don't care what I see because I don't know if I'll watch. But
not even to watch the young guys?
I don't know. I don't know. I mean, bowl games really have become a postseason, preseason game.
Yeah.
It's really what they've become. If you're not in a big-time bowl, then that's what you're saying is what's happening, right? Is let's get some young guys some run. You kind of know what your roster coming back is. So, I mean, I would anticipate seeing them run the ball a ton, like an absolute ton, which means they may win because they run the ball really, really well.
I mean, they're playing a good team.
Yeah, but you know what I mean? Like you're playing that team that you want to control the clock on, and you probably have better athletes then, and you probably are bigger and stronger then. So, and you definitely have the two best running backs, on the field. So, I don't know what Oregon State has, but that would be my game plan: is create extra gaps, make them play base personnel, don't let them go to nickel, and then just run the tar out of it and try to get creative with scheming some guys open in whatever way that Jack Miller is comfortable in.
Speaking of Jack Miller, you're the quarterback guy, 6 points, trainer of Anthony Richardson. We'll talk about the draft prep that has probably already begun for you and AR here in a moment. But your thoughts on Jack Miller? I think 14 career passes at Ohio State, has never taken a snap for Florida, and yet here we go, starting the Las Vegas Bowl on Saturday. What do you like about Jack Miller? What do Gator fans need to know about Jack Miller?
I've seen Jack 3 times since he's been at Florida. I saw him last spring in a practice, and then I saw him last spring in the spring game, live and in person. And then I saw him again right before the season, so right before his injury. I will say this, like in all 3 scenarios, he's a very smooth and fluid passer, and he's got a lot of arm talent and seems to have a little bit of wiggle to him. In the fall, he looked a lot better than he did in the spring when I saw him. Just from a timing perspective, from knowing where he wanted to go to the ball, and that's just knowing the offense, right? So I think if Jack, I don't know what his health situation's been all year. I don't know, like, has the thumb kept him from throwing at all? Has there been a return to throw program to where he's close to back to full speed? So I mean, I think if he carries that forward, it's going to look fine. He's going to do fine. He's a talented kid. You don't go to Ohio State to Florida if you don't have some talent. So he's a talented kid. I think we're going to learn a lot about how healthy he is, not necessarily how good he is at the bowl game. If they push the ball down the field, if you see him throwing, field comebacks and field outs, he's probably 100%. If it looks like they're protecting him, I don't think they're protecting him because of a skill set or a talent. I think they're protecting him because maybe that thumb's not 100%.
From the Jack Miller point of view, for people that have not seen any of his tape, all I've seen are really highlights. Dual threat, pocket passer. Can you relate him to anybody?
I don't even use those 2 terms anymore. He's a modern-day quarterback, meaning he can move the way he needs to move. He's not a statue. He's not Anthony. He's, somewhere in between, probably shading a little bit closer to the statue side, but he moves fine. He pocket movement's fine. He's quick enough. If they want to run zone read with him, they absolutely can. If he needs to pull it down, he can go get 10 or 12 yards. So he's a very good athlete and a very good thrower. I think that's kind of the new, I would say what 80% of all quarterbacks fit in. They don't really fit in that dual threat or that pocket passer anymore.
The Gators, and we'll get to this, the lack of commitments in the transfer portal so far. At the time you and I are recording this, I believe Caleb Banks, right? The D lineman out of Louisville is the only one that's officially committed out of the portal. That will change. It could change in the next 10 minutes. But at the time you and I are talking, there currently only is one. the fact that there has not been a quarterback that has committed to Florida yet out of the portal, does that leave the window open for this to be an open tryout for Jack Miller to be involved in the conversation next year to be the starting quarterback?
I guess in a default way, yeah. I guess in a default way, if I believe Florida has their number one guy.
You do.
I believe that they have targeted in on one guy, and they're putting everything together, and we'll find that out. And if that happens, then this is not a tryout for Jack Miller. But if they miss on that guy, by the time they're going to hear about that guy, or maybe they missed on number 2, number 3, number 4 as well, right? And so then, yeah, I absolutely could. So if I'm Jack Miller, I'm approaching this as this is my audition tape for this staff that determines how intense that competition is going into camp next year.
We talk about, well, actually, final thought on the bowl game. So other than Jack Miller, I mean, Montrell Johnson, Trevor Etienne, the running game needs to be critical. There's no difference, right, between 7-6 and 6-7. I mean, you want to win the game, clearly. If you lose the game, just don't get blown out. As long as they're competitive. I've talked to Gator fans that don't necessarily care about the outcome. They're interested in Jack Miller, certainly, but they just don't want to see 45-10. Go out there, be competitive. Again, you're playing a team that you're a 11-point underdog, right? Oregon State's top 15 in the country.
It's going up to 11?
It was 10.5, I think, last night. I think I saw one where it was 11. Wow. Yeah. But that's because Florida, what are they going to have, 60, 65 scholarship guys there? I mean, it's a tough putt on Saturday. That's what it is.
Yeah, I mean, it's... I always go back to this, though, because I want to agree with everything you're saying, and I certainly don't disagree. But I always go back to those 60, 65 guys that Florida recruited are better than the 80, 85 guys that Oregon State recruited. I always go back to that, right? Like, I mean, Oregon State, I don't know. I'd have to go and look. But I bet you if you go back through the years and you look at the guys that are at Florida, their average star rating is significantly higher than what Oregon State's roster is. So I don't look at this game as Florida has no chance. I look at this game as Florida has a chance if they just get out there and bully ball them, right? And the question we all have is the defense, obviously. I think Napier and the offense will put something together that gives them an opportunity to win. It's can the defense slow down Oregon State? And, what I would love to see is I'd love to see them just go, okay, we're going to cover 1 or cover 0. We're just going to press man you the whole time. We're going to blitz the A gaps. And you're going to have to make some throws under pressure. And if we get beat by 30, we get beat by 30, but we may also win by 20. Like, I want to see that aggressive attitude out of this defense going into this game.
Today's Gator Bytes podcast is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. For the highest quality care, you can rely on Southeast Orthopedic Specialists for any orthopedic injury or concern. You can log on to their website by going to se-ortho.com, and you can listen for Southeast Orthopedic Specialist, the good doctor, Kevin Murphy, on Thursday mornings in the 7 o'clock hour with Jeff and Dan right here on 1010XL for his weekly analysis of injuries in sports. The transfer portal. There are a lot of rumors out there, a lot of people that have gone on social media, floated things out there. Let me get your take on a couple of things. Only one commitment for the Gators out of the transfer portal. Guys are starting to commit. You're seeing more and more commitments daily. The transfer portal's been open now for a week and a half. Concerning Florida only has one guy, which was Caleb Banks, the D lineman out of Louisville, or is it still too early to be concerned?
It's probably still too early to be overall concerned, but with that being said, you need some help at receiver, right? You need some help at tight end. If you don't know who your quarterback is next year, it's hard to get that help.
Right. So once the quarterback, the dominoes will fall.
But when does that domino fall? And that's the thing, is because you got really a window here for about another week and a half. And then at that point, unless you've already got something lined up with the kid, it's going to be hard to get them in school past that, right? Because you got the holidays, so you've got admissions closed, you've got things like that. So now all of a sudden, classes start January 6th, 7th, 8th, something like that. Does that kid have time to get into school if he decides he wants to go there, right? So if you set the timetable of, all right, we've got this week and a half, and then we may not hear on our quarterback until January 3rd, then you really don't have any time, right? So I that's the one piece that's a little concerning to me. I'm not concerned about the number because I do this every day with the transfer portal. I'm on the phone hours and hours every day. We're getting to the panic time. We're getting to the point of panic, not by the kids, not at all by the kids, by the coaches, of are we going to be left out, right? Everybody talks about all these people in a transfer portal, but the reality is the major programs have the same 30, 40, 50 in mind. And so now as they thought that they were starting to get these guys, and now these guys haven't committed or haven't signed or haven't started the enrollment process, now they're going, well, wait a second, what's this team over here giving them that we're not giving them? And so the schools are starting to panic because they don't want to get done with this and go, we're empty-handed. So they're a day away, 2 days away from just moving on to the next tier guy.
You know, we really haven't seen the quarterback. Again, the commitments are just starting. Like, you're seeing guys that are committing, but as far as the quarterback, I think Jerkovic, right, from Boston College to Pitt, is like the only guy that I know at quarterback of a big-time school that transferred to another big-time school.
Jacoby Criswell from North Carolina to Arkansas.
Okay.
Yeah, but you're right. I think those are about the only two. I would say that there's a couple of dominoes that people need to drop. One of them did, and that's Austin Reed going back to Western Kentucky, right? So Austin's one of our guys, so I can kind of talk about this.
He's going back to Western Kentucky.
He is. He took his name out of the transfer portal.
Wow.
He's decided to stay at Western Kentucky. Y'all, Austin had a ton of options, right? And he was high enough on the board on all these options that him going back sent them to their second person or the third person, right? That's the dominoes that start to fall, is now all of a sudden you go from Austin Reed, Jeff Sims, I'm just saying because I know their situation, who have multiple decisions to make and multiple visits to take, to maybe your next guy is so happy to hear from you, he commits on the spot, and bam, there's a domino, right? And so I think Austin was the first one to fall. I think the next couple days you'll see probably 4, 5, 6 of them fall because of the patience of the schools are starting to set cutoff dates.
The one thing, or there's two things that I'm curious. Number one, the Sam Hartman thing just never materialized, right? He never entered the portal. I mean, the rumor's even still there, but he's not entering the portal.
Yeah, at this point, the way he's playing this, I think he already knows what his next move is. And so there's no rush for him, right? I think he's dialed into whatever that next move is. It's probably already set, so he'll play his bowl game. The next day, he'll get in the portal. The next day, he'll be there. That's my thought. Or maybe not the next day because they don't want to make it that obvious, right? But I don't think he'll hit the portal and you'll hear about him jetting all over the country. I think he'll hit the portal, maybe take a visit, and then bam, done.
And that's the quarterback from Wake Forest. All right, there's a couple websites out there in talking about perfect fit, perfect scenarios. When talking about Florida, they mentioned 2 quarterbacks. Spencer Sanders from Oklahoma State, Grayson McCall, Coastal Carolina. Do you think there could potentially be anything to those 2 guys and the Gators?
I think the Spencer Sanders kid is really good, and I could see that fit. I could definitely see that fit. The reason why people say Grayson McCall is because he runs the ball so well. But
they say he's very similar to, I guess, Levi Lewis, who Napier had.
Yeah, he's a better player than him. Yeah, McCall's a better player than him, better thrower. So I don't know. Like I don't. When I see Grayson McCall, I don't see Florida. I don't know why. I can't put my thumb on it. I don't see Florida. I think Grayson is very talented, but I don't see that. I think there's a second wave of portal guys about to come in. And again, I only speak of the quarterback position. There's guys who have bowl games that they didn't want to declare before the bowl game. They want to play the bowl game with their team, finish the season. And then there's another group of guys who are pretty good players, and you were starting to see it this week, where they were waiting for that initial, like, bang, here's everybody. So all those people could get all these calls, and then they were, on purpose, going to be a little late to the party. Like Emory Jones. Emory Jones is a perfect example. Emory Jones is like, man, I'm going to let all that stuff happen the first week. I'll go in the second week. Then people have a better idea of where they stand with everybody, and it's worked beautifully. Emory's getting a ton of calls. right? So I think there's a couple more of those as well. So we're not done with names in the transfer portal.
And just to refresh memories, January 18th, right, is when this window closes.
Yeah, but I don't even know how you can go that late. I don't know how you can go that late and get in school unless you're in one of the Northeastern schools, right? I mean, schools start at different times of the year, but I don't know that you can go that late.
So we should see a lot of activity for Florida. And one would think, again, no inside knowledge here, but Florida has had to prepare for a football game. I mean, they do play Saturday in the Las Vegas Bowl.
And that's also messing them up.
Yeah, right. So after the game is over and the season officially ends Saturday night, Sunday, Monday, again, I would imagine next week you might see a lot of movement for Florida.
I probably would have declined this bowl game if I was Florida. Is the bowl game worth giving up the last weekend of recruiting?
No.
Is the bowl game giving up the last weekend of official recruits being able to come into your facility the week before early signing day? And I'm with you. I don't think it is. Right? So they're giving that up. They're going to be in Vegas. So all the main guys are going to be in Vegas, so you're not going to host the best of the best. So now you just gave an easy way for the people you're competing with to get that valuable last visit before early signing day.
And Miami has a huge weekend of visits.
And Florida had a huge one last weekend, right? But if last weekend was next weekend, I think they all would have felt a little bit better. So I think Florida got a little bit hosed on the drawing on the bowl game. But I think for me, and I know Napier wanted the extra practices, and he is, I'm going to build with my team now. But for me, I think I would have declined that and just said, no, there's too much at stake going on in Gainesville that weekend.
Today's Gator Bytes podcast is brought to you by Southeast Orthopedic Specialists. They're Northeast Florida's leading orthopedic center, providing an unparalleled level of care across numerous locations in both Jacksonville and St. Augustine. That includes Riverside, Northside, the South Side, the beaches, Fleming Island, and St. John's. All right, we are inside of a week away until that December signing day, next Wednesday. Florida right now, based on most of the websites, has a top 10 class. They're still waiting on a couple of guys. If history is any indicator, I don't know how strong Florida's going to finish. As long as they keep the guys that they have, they should be okay. What is your expectation for next week? Is it going to be a good recruiting cycle, or are things going to go haywire at the end?
Haywire in a good way or a bad way?
Either way. How about that?
I don't think there's much risk of it going the bad way.
Okay.
I think everybody's locked in from what I've been hearing. They feel very confident in the weekend they had last weekend. Very confident. So I think they could add a couple. I don't think and I don't know this number, but if they're targeting 5, they're probably not going to add 5, but they could add a couple of guys that would be towards the upper part of this class. And so I would anticipate seeing them coming out of early signing day in that 7-8 range, which listen, is incredible. That's incredible.
It's a massive upgrade from where they've been.
Well, your first year, and I mean, we've had people talk to us on this podcast. I think you said the same thing about 3 or 4 months ago. It was like, well, what the heck? We're not getting any. And so I think that's incredible. I think the way that they set out to do this, they executed really well, down to the timing of when they took the commitments. So if they can hold on to these guys, add 1 or 2 more, get up, to 8 in the standings rankings going into late signing day, fantastic.
The star of the class is Jaden Rashada. He got bumped up to a 5-star on 24/7. That makes him the highest rated quarterback recruit, I believe, since Jeff Driscoll in 2011. For people that have not heard you talk about Rashada, because he is officially signing next week, a Cliff Notes version from Denny Thompson. What are the Gators getting with Jaden Rashada?
Super fluid guy, really relaxed guy in the pocket in all of his movements. Great arm. You're not a 5-star if you don't have. 5-star means that they expect you to be an NFL star, right? He's got a ton of arm talent. He's got a ton of carry on his arm. Moves really well. Moves really fluently. I don't know what his top end speed is. It's not like, I don't think he is a runner. I could be dead wrong on that. I've just seen him throw. But I'm excited about Jaden. I don't know that he's a first year guy. He's got some development to do physically. But I find it interesting that, 2 weeks ago we were talking about, Lagway, and then bam, they hit us with a 5-star on Rashada, right? And he's technically a higher rated prospect than Lagway. So props to Florida for having 2 5-star commits. Let's hope they can hold on to it.
And this is what you do at 6 points with the recruiting process. I mean, what does it say about Billy Napier to get a 5-star quarterback in 2023 followed up by a 5-star quarterback in 2024?
It tells me that right now he's being very honest with them with how this is going to look, and that both of those are comfortable with where they're at in it. It tells me that he has laid down, okay, this is the way we think this is going to work, with the caveat of, if one of you is just way better than the other, then it's not going to work this way. But if based on our evaluation, we think it's going to go this to this to this, and they've all agreed to be comfortable with it. So if he can maintain that same energy, and the biggest thing is if they can win football games and create a culture that people don't want to leave so that waiting for your turn is not a nuisance, then, yeah, you can keep those guys.
Final moments here. I want to spend a brief thought on Anthony Richardson at the end. But before then, are you surprised? I mean, what this December signing period came, 4 or 5 years ago now? Yeah. 90% of guys will sign in December. I mean, just a handful wait till February. I didn't expect that when this started. Now that's what we expect to happen is most of the hay to be in the barn in December. Are you surprised we're at that point?
Not really. Not really, because there was a much higher percentage that were already doing a early signing day than what people realized. And what I mean by that is they were enrolling in that school on January 8th. And then,
but couldn't officially sign
until February. Yeah. So I think it was probably, that doesn't get reported because there's not an early signing day. You know what I mean? So I think there was probably already 50% doing it of the elite guys. I am a little surprised that at the FCS level, and maybe even at the group of 5 level, that they're as high as they are. If I'm a kid, unless I just really love the school and I feel like I won in this deal, I'm probably going to wait to see what shakes out if I'm not going to my dream school. But I mean, all in all, I like the early signing day. I don't like it December 21st. I liked it better when it was like December 3rd or whatever it was those first couple of years. This is entirely too late, though.
Well, you're mixing it in with the portal, with bowl prep, with NFL declarations. There's just too much stuff right now. The year is too long for there to be this much stuff in a 3-week window.
No doubt. And especially when there's guys that are always going to announce they're hitting the portal in the middle of the season. Always. Because then they can go take some unofficial visits, or then they can actually do their research, right? Gauge what the interest is in them. So, I mean, if you're going to allow that, now they couldn't officially be in the portal, but they can make the announcement and everybody finds that out. If you're going to allow that, man, I mean, let's open this up. Let's go December, let's go second week in November to January 18th. Cramming all this in, you're right. And especially when you're talking to college coaches right now, they are stressed. They are stressed about this because everything you just said, they're game prepping, they're recruiting, they're looking at these portal guys, and these portal guys got till whenever, and they're like, no, we don't have until whenever. We need to know now. So I think if you just open that up just a little bit, it probably takes the stress off everybody.
Not to completely catch you off guard by this, but there was certainly some sad news in the Southeastern Conference this week with Mike Leach. I don't know if you ever had any interaction with him. You certainly talked to a lot of coaches around the country. I know you've worked with Gardner Minshew, who obviously had a very close relationship with Mike Leach. Far too young at 61 years of age. We lose Mike Leach this week.
Yeah, no, I never actually got to talk to Mike Leach. I was telling Gardner that the other night. So Gardner and I talked Monday night. He passed Tuesday? He passed Monday night. They announced it Tuesday. Gardner and he are super close, and Gardner loves that guy to death. So Gardner was broken up by it, but I've actually never had any interaction with Mike Leach.
We talk about the stress and everything that coaches deal with. Yeah. It's you gotta take care of yourself. No question about that. All right, so you talk about the draft preparation. Anthony Richardson declared for the draft last week. It's going to get here quick. I mean, you snap your fingers, it'll be pro day and the combine and everything. What is the plan for you guys? Have you guys begun the draft prep work with Anthony Richardson?
Yeah, we're kind of laying the foundation right now, getting, medical, to a large extent, medical done, seeing what from these guys our guys go through physical therapy every day. So it's part of the plan. It's 8-hour days, 5 days a week. So we're setting that physical therapy with Dr. Gormelli right now at Torque Sports Performance, and really just we've got his whole schedule set. We're pretty much done with all that. And at nutrition, like he's met with our nutritionist and they have a plan. So now it's just a matter of getting him moved into his place here, which will happen here in the next couple of days. And then, I think our plan is December 26th to go full speed with it. I think, next week we kind of ease into it. And then December 26th, it's work until March 20, whatever, when they have their pro day. And then we get a couple weeks, and about a week actually. And then, you got the whole visit thing that happens, and then it's draft. And then right when the draft is over, I pack up and I move wherever he's drafted, and I'm there for, until the end of training camp.
And I know we got to go quick here because I got to go train some quarterbacks right now, but quickly, can people fully understand how much work the draft process is?
No. Y'all, it is right now for us. We hadn't even started, and we're spending most of our day every day with the curriculum and the plan, because this is big for us. Like, this is the energy inside of 6 Points right now is electric, because this is truly a guy that this process matters for. Like, this process can take him from number 20 to number 2 if we handle this right. So there's a lot at stake here.
It's been a good week for 6 Points.
It's been an amazing week.
I mean, you're wearing the San Francisco 49er hat for a reason.
Yes, sir. Let's go Brock Purdy tonight. Let's get it.
But and again, you're not tooting your own horn. I'll do it for you here for a second. We talk about Denny being, 6 Points owner and training quarterbacks. You worked with Brock Purdy.
Yeah, we still do, man. Brock's our dude.
One of your guys, and now you see what he's doing out of San Francisco.
Fun. It's so much fun, man. So much fun. I didn't own the San Francisco 49ers hat 2 weeks ago. Right now, my kids got one. My wife's got one. It's like we dialed into the games. We're excited for tonight. And another good friend of mine, Kirk Herbstreit, is calling the game.
Yeah.
Right. So I got to have a good conversation with Kirk about Brock Purdy. And no, it's just exciting, man. It's fun. And Mac's playing well. And it's just, this year has been beyond awesome for us, beyond fun for us. So we're a little bit ready to grind into the offseason.
That's great, man. He is Denny Thompson. I'm the hacker, Ryan Green. We'll be back next week to review what we hope will be a very good signing day for the Florida Gators here on Gator Bytes, 1010XL.com and the Florida Gator 1010XL Facebook page.